Hello everybody and welcome back to another Sunday video. I do these every week. I go through a couple markets that I am personally looking at and try and give you a little bit of a rundown or a view at the week ahead for the currency market. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. I wanted to start with the dollar, and the dollar, very strong. Right? We've been discussing the dollar. We've been keeping tabs on the dollar for, I don't know, pretty much as long as this channel has been going on. But recently, it seems like we've been increasingly more interested in discussing and paying attention to this dollar volatility. On Friday, we had jobs numbers come out, which were pretty strong. And of course, with the Fed hawkish and the world kind of on risk off mode, we see the dollar continuing to drift higher. And the question is the top in? Have we found a point where we're going to just completely crumble and fall back the other way? And my personal opinion is no. I am going with the flow. Until further notice, the dollar looks very strong. Here's the 4-hour view. You can see a long-term upward trend just continuing to play out. Now, in the meantime, there may be some short-term pullbacks. So don't get me wrong. If you're very short-term and you're looking at this from a swing trader, you're not looking at this from a swing trader's perspective, sure, there may be some opportunities to look for the dollar to come back down. But in my personal opinion, the dollar on a retest of this structure, or in general just pullbacks in this uptrend, is a buy. We have been saying this and been paying attention to this concept for months on the channel. Dollar bulls based on the fundamentals, and now with the Russia-Ukraine situation continuing to heat up, the dollar is still a very, very strong buy in my personal opinion until further notice. Now, of course, we're not going to trade DXY because this is a currency index and most brokers don't offer you the ability to trade this. However, there are some individual currency pairs that we could go trade. So let's go take a look at the euro dollar. Now, the euro dollar had a really, really tough week, down tremendously. We had a lot of strength to the dollar coming in, but also the euro very, very weak. Now, my impression on this is that this is short biased for good reason. Europe in a lot of, under a lot of pressure due to the Ukraine situation. Of course, sanctions with Russia are twofold. They hurt not just Russia, but also other countries that do a lot of business with them, i.e. places like Germany and France and a lot of the EU. So going into this week, if I see any sort of pullbacks on the euro dollar, these would be sell opportunities. So in fact, if I were to draw a fib from the swing high here, down to the swing low, the first stop that I kind of see is this 38.2 at 1.1081, but you've also got a little bit more of an interesting level for me at this 1.1140. Give or take. That's a 50% retracement, and it also lines up nicely with this previous low. So a lot of structure of resistance here. Should we start to see a bit of a short-term rally on the euro, if you think that this thing has potential, sure, there may be some shorter-term trades, but in the grand scheme of things, I have been bearish on this pair and still looking for more downside, especially if we were to poke up into, that 1.1150 zone, that region here that we've got marked in gray. So that's kind of my personal take on the euro dollar. In terms of where we're at, I can't short down here. There's no need for me to I would be, calling this more like shorting. Down here would be more like chasing. So for me, what I'm looking for is a pullback. I'm looking for an opportunity to still go short, but probably waiting for a little bit better of an entry in terms of a pullback, not trying to chase this move, but trying to be involved with any pullbacks within it. So with that said, we could also take a look at another currency pair heavily due on the dollar yen. And I actually got beat up a little bit by the dollar yen last week. You can see my orders here. I tried buying here and I tried buying again, but unfortunately was stopped out twice on this one candle, which of course is no fun, but I had a bullish bias on this. I was trying to grab the 38.2% retracement on this level, so you can kind of see my thought process here. A little bit of rejection there. It was looking pretty solid, but then we just had some fresh yen strength that really broke down and kind of ended my week. Not negative, because we had a really good gold trade, which I'll talk about in a second when we get to gold. However, still, definitely took me a notch down on those profitable trades. I am still bullish on this pair, however, and I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update for those of you who are members, or people who just watch my channel regularly. My next spot on the dollar yen for potential try is maybe 114.60. Now, this is still aggressive because this thing, overall, I do expect this trend to continue to the upside until further notice. We are seeing a little bit of downward pressure. And so poking down into 114.60, I do like that area for a possible attempt at one more buy try. But if this doesn't work out, the next major spot is all the way down at 113.6. So I'm very tentatively, maybe willing to give this a try to see if we can catch a little bit of a trend continuation bounce off of this level. However, if that breaks, like I said, I'm out of there pretty quick, probably stopping below the structure and looking for a move back down to 113.6 before resuming any buy attempts. So I do like this pair long biased. I am, you can see we've kind of see a little bit of entanglement in the moving averages right now. So right now the trend is not absolutely dominating, and part of the reason for that is that the yen is quite strong. Speaking of the yen, what's going on with pound yen, a very popular currency pair? You can see this one came down real heavy this week off of everything going on with Eastern Europe. So again, big point of view here is that with the Ukraine situation, the pound is less attractive than the yen. And we talk about this often, but if we're looking at GJ, the yen is that big safe haven currency, and it had a lot of strength towards the end of last week as, you know, things are still scary in Eastern Europe. People are siding with the yen for now. They're selling the pound because of its higher risk, higher, you know, it's less attractive in a risk-off scenario when markets are fearful. You know, the UK heavily impacted by this Russia situation as well. And so you have all those things being drawn down and pulling this pound yen lower. So for right now, the trend seems to the downside. You know, in terms of technical analysis, we do see lower highs coming in on this market. We see sellers having the strength here for the time being. And in terms of where we could see this thing going, again, we've broken through this major area at 153.40, which is a big deal for the sellers. However, we could still see markets move back down, especially if things continue to be bleak in the Eastern European theater. We could still see markets make a move back down to levels like 149.45. That would just be my personal take. Until things change directions, there's no reason for me to be buying this pair, you know, not trying to buy this. Now, I was bullish over here, had some attempts at buying this thing, but since the shift in kind of the headlines lately with the Russia-Ukraine situation, until that stuff subsides, the pound yen looks more sell heavy than anything else for me. Speaking of pound, we'll take a look at the pound dollar. Again, similar story with the pound dollar. We're seeing the pound dollar coming into support at 1.32. Gonna give this a try to see if this you know, wants to try and hold. But right now, again, downward structure on this pair, and until further notice, the path of least resistance here does seem to be to the downside. So when I look at the pound dollar, you may be asking, Nick, is this a buy at support? My opinion would be not gonna try it. Personally, I would stay away from, you know, going long pound dollar because of its risk on nature. The pound is a little bit more sell heavy in a market environment where fear is dominating and markets are unsure about, you know, what's going to happen next. As long as there is this kind of locking up situation where, you know, the West is placing sanctions on Russia and Russia is, you know, invading Ukraine, and there's just, you know, supply line deficits, all sorts of things. That is really, really scary, and markets are reacting as you would kind of expect them to do. They're selling riskier things and buying safer things. So for the time being, that's kind of what we are focused on here on the channel as traders. You know, I'm not trying to predict the every movement of the market and trying to call everything out. My goal is just to kind of go with the flow of traffic. Speaking of going with the flow, let's take a look at gold. I'm currently long on gold. I have a trade open that I shared within our private Discord channel. I initially bought at 1926. This is my second trade on gold in the last month or so. I actually bought gold at 1849, traded it up to, I don't know, around 1900, and then decided after we broke out yet again to go ahead and get back in at 1926, which is right around here. So I basically, my thought process here with this was, let me see if I can just pull up the 1 hour chart and I'll show you guys how this kind of came into play. So 1926 is right around this area. We essentially broke and held off of this zone here. So we broke out of this area, and on the retest, I decided to go ahead and pick up long at 1926, which wasn't the perfect bottom, but we have still caught it, and we're still in the trade. For the time being, going with the flow on gold. 1970 does look like we are probably going to head back up to 1974, and the question is, can we break that? And in my opinion, until things, you know, change directions truly, until there's a major catalyst the other direction, bullish, bullish, bullish on gold. There is no reason for me to stop buying gold. There's no reason for me to pause on the gold market until things change directions on both the technical and fundamental side. We've been discussing gold on the channel for a while. I was able to get back into my long position, like I said, on a retest. I called that out to VIP members, which, by the way, if you're not a member, this is kind of what it looks like. So every trade that I take, I share the full breakdowns. So for example, I was able to enter gold. When was this? this? March 3rd. So I went long on gold 1926, risked 134 pips, which on gold is not that much. And here was the initial idea, right? So we broke up, we held this area, and then on that retest, I was able to get in at 1926 areas with the targets being that previous high, which we are just about to hit. So we hit target 1, I was able to move my stop loss to break even, and then now hitting target 2, we've locked in profit on this move already. So you can kind of see that's where we're at. We've trailed the stop significantly within the VIP trade alert section. So we're in a good spot with that gold trade here going into the end of last week, and now holding on to into this week. Again, we're not trying to call tops and bottoms. We are literally just riding trends, and that's something that we specialize within our private VIP group. If you're not already in the group and you would like to join, there's a link down below in the description. You can click that link, sign up on our VIP page, and then if you use the promo code there for subscribers on YouTube, you'll actually get a discount off of your membership should you decide to join us. But you can see all the trades being taken by myself, as well as our other top analysts. We have myself, Patrick, Any, Ivan. We also have a chat room available for serious traders. We have coaching webinars that we do twice a week. We have an education section where you can read up on our strategies and go through things that we're putting together there for traders. So all of these things are available within our VIP Discord. If you're not already in the group, like I said, the link is down below in the description. It's the very first link when you scroll down there. So check it out if you would like to. But yeah, gold, bullish, 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 right? We've been sitting in this trade. All we can do now is wait to let this thing continue to play out. Now, another similar market, I know not a lot of people are super interested in oil on my channel, but let's talk about the commodity market in general. We're seeing the oil market also on the rise. And same story here. We are bullish on commodities here at A1 Trading. We've been discussing this for a long time now. With everything going on with Ukraine and Russia, since that has broken out, we've just been bullish on things like commodities like oil and gold. And so for me, there is no, sure, we've had a resistance point, but I would not be selling this, right? Maybe it works out. There's a chance, but I think most likely gold and oil continue to break new highs until we see a reversal of effects or something, like a ceasefire or something changes in the world. But right now, going with the flow, oil bullish, gold bullish, dollar bullish. Those are kind of my takes on things right now, with a bearish perspective on a lot of the other major currencies. Now, another one that's kind of interesting right now is Aussie dollar. Here's the Aussie dollar. This one very, very strong. And part of the reasoning here, or at least my take on it, is that the commodity market heating up has a positive impact on the Australian dollar, as they are large exporters of commodities like gold and other raw materials. They do a lot of trade with China. They do a lot of trade with the US. So those commodity markets like the Australian currency have really, really benefited from this. So I'm also bullish on the Aussie dollar. So for example, if we were to see Aussie CHF perhaps pull back, I've been looking for opportunities on this one. If we start getting some oversold readings at support levels, that's kind of what I'm looking for the time being until things change. Now, if I take any trades, of course, you guys will know about them inside of the group, but my main idea here is basically just going with the flow until the flow changes directions, truthfully. So we don't know how far this market can go. We don't know how long this beating the drums on this war story, how long it will go. We don't know, right? And I'm not trying to predict the future because I truthfully, I don't know any more than, the average person that is, out there on the reading the headlines and going with the market flows and the articles and things like that. But what I do know is that I don't have to know everything. I can just go with the flow, create trading opportunities where my risk is as minimal as possible and the reward is potentially great, right? So again, with that gold trade that we discussed and commodities heating up, we've been able to take a bias and get into positions where we've taken small amounts of risk, right? With huge upside. We're letting these markets run in our favor. We're not stopping them when they run in our favor. We're not taking profits just because we hit resistance, right? We are letting trades flow and go as long as they want to go. So that's kind of my take on gold and commodities in general. That was something I really wanted to get across in this video today. I am bullish on commodities until we see a reason not to be. Let's continue on. We'll take a look at another couple currency pairs. Another one specifically, Ncdjpy. I do want to be long on this. Couple levels that we've been watching here. We've got support at 78.4. Perhaps we've already seen this thing bounce off of this level. If you're looking for deeper retracements on this pair, you've got levels, for example, like 78. as an even number play. So potentially if we see a pullback maybe this week, there is an opportunity to maybe look for another swing high. Now this is a 1 hour chart. So if we were to skip this to a 4 hour chart, you're talking about a nice retracement there. Let's say that this is kind of the top for a little bit. You've got the 38.2% looking really attractive there, right around 78. So if we do see a pullback there, looking for long continuations on NZD and AUD pairs, again, due to their commodity exposure. Now, of course, you guys have to be careful because the thing is, I'm talking about these ideas, but I will also be quick to change sides if we see a change in market direction. But right now, we don't see that. I'm not trying, like I keep reiterating, if you watch my channel long enough, you'll hear me say the same things. I don't try and predict what's going to happen next in the world. I just go with what's happening in the world until things change. I find it much easier. I find it much more reliable to just go with what's happening. Of course, it doesn't mean that you're just going to be printing money all the time, but it does, generally speaking, for me, give me a little bit more accuracy just riding the flow rather than trying to fight the flow, if that makes sense. So we've talked about gold, we've talked about oil, we've talked about the euro dollar. Actually, I wanted to take a look at some other euro pairs here for a second. I am bearish on the euro, and some of these markets have been absolutely decimated by this situation. Look at this. The euro against the Australian dollar went from trading at 1.62 down to 1.48. That's an incredible drop on a major currency pair like this, two major players, the euro and the Australian dollar. You've also got places like Euro Ncd, right? Major crashes to the downside. By the way, you guys check this out. You guys ready for a little bit of a painful story? I sold Euro Ncd right around here and got stopped out for break even. And then it did all this. Definitely a little bit of a painful sob story for me. It happens though. It's frustrating, but sometimes this occurs. Sometimes you just get stopped out just for break even before the big swing back the other way. But Euro Ncd, Euro Aussie, there's nothing for me to comment on because they're so oversold yet also so bearish for good reason. So I am looking for pullbacks on these if they do come into play. What about things like, for example, we've got Euro Aussie. We've talked about Euro Dollar also. I am bearish on this pair, like I mentioned, looking for retracement sells on this pair. Let's see what else we have got. Euro GBP. This is an interesting one. So this one's really tricky. I actually don't have a bias at all because I'm not super fanatical about either currency. I definitely am short biased most heavily on the euro against the pound, but the pound is also not something I'm super bullish on either. So for those of you guys who are interested in this pair, I can't give you too much commentary just from a technical analysis standpoint. We do kind of have this idea, so perhaps a 50% retracement. Yep, there's the 50. Maybe if you're looking just for a flow of traffic just to continue, you've got that level. Looking for those overbought readings in this case, combining them with resistance points, that sort of thing would definitely be interesting. Again, there's a lot of markets that I'm watching here today, you guys, and before I finish, I just want to say, if you're not already inside of the VIP group, this is probably some of the best times that we've ever had in terms of the VIP group. We've been hitting a lot of winning trades inside of the trade section. But on top of that, we've just been trading the volatility here very well. High volatility tends to do very well for my sort of approach in the markets due to trend following. You catch one move or you sell something like this on a retest, and then you catch excellent risk to reward scenarios. So that's kind of my take on it. Looking for those great risk rewards, they tend to be better when the high volatility is there. So of course, if you're not already in the VIP group and you would like to join, all of the information is down below in the description. I'm going to leave you guys with that today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you did, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more free content, and we'll see you next time.